Well, hey there. Welcome to the Lean Lifestyle Podcast, where we talk all of the things about building muscle and getting lean at any age. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Courtney Witten, and I'm the host of the Lean Lifestyle Podcast. And today we're going to be chatting about intermittent fasting in your 40s. All right. The reason why I've been wanting to talk about this is because even just recently, I've been getting so many questions about intermittent fasting. There's just so much conflicting information out there, and I've been getting a lot of questions about how to implement it. Is it right for me? Is it bad for my hormones? And I wanted to come on here and just kind of clear the air and let you all know that I've actually kind of changed my stance on intermittent fasting recently, and I'll be explaining why. And I'm really excited to dive into this hot topic with you all today. And I'm hoping by coming on here and addressing all of your concerns about intermittent fasting, that you can decide for yourself if it's right for you. And I also feel that the biggest issue here is that some people just do not do it correctly, and some people are taking it to an extreme. And I think that's really where people are running into problems. So we are going to be breaking all of this down and settling it once and for all. So just a few updates. I do want to let you all know that as of now, when this recording is coming out, I do have just one VIP spot left inside Lean Physique. This is my membership for women over 40. It is a fitness and nutrition membership designed to help you lose fat and or build more muscle, and also make it a lifestyle and make it sustainable. So I'm really excited to offer this VIP experience, which includes one-on-one messaging and also coaching with me. So if you are wanting to change your body, if you want to find something sustainable for losing fat and building muscle, then this is the membership for you. So I'm going to go ahead and link Lean Physique into the show notes. This will take you directly to the page with all the information. And this is also where you can sign up and get immediate access. If you want to chat first, you are welcome to email me at cfitnessonlinetraining@gmail.com. And as soon as that one spot is filled, it is going to be closed. Okay. The VIP experience. I am going to be on vacation the week of July 4th. So I will be out for almost 2 weeks. And I just want to make sure that whoever signs up is onboarded and ready to go and ready to rock and roll. But without further ado, we are going to go ahead and dive into today's topic, intermittent fasting for women over 40. All right. So intermittent fasting is a tool that basically what this entails is having a timed window with your eating. So you might have something like, you might have heard something like a 16-8. Okay. So basically what that means is fasting for 16 hours. So having 16 hours between your last meal of the day and the first meal of the day. And then that 8 hours is your window. Now there is many different ways that you can do this, and we're going to be breaking that down as well. But some of the benefits of intermittent fasting, one, it can create a calorie deficit. So if fat loss is the goal, then it can help you create a calorie deficit since you are keeping all of your meals within a certain time window. So it can be beneficial for fat loss. And really that is the only way it's going to help you with fat loss, is because it's helping you create a calorie deficit. Okay, so that's really the bottom line. There's nothing really magical about intermittent fasting as far as fat loss goes. It's literally just because more than likely is going to help you create that calorie deficit where you're taking in less calories than your body expends. Okay, so that's really how it works. Now, there is some fat burning benefits to this. So what I mean by this is that it can get you into a ketogenic state. So ketosis or ketogenesis, whatever you want to call it, this is a state that is achieved through restricting calories, having some times without food, and or restricting carbohydrates. So in this state, you are going to be shifting from using carbohydrates as your primary fuel source to using the dietary fat that you consume, and also the dietary or the fat that's on your body fat, using that as a fuel source. So it kind of gets a little tricky because people kind of relate like fat burning equals fat loss, but that's not necessarily the case. Really, all that means is that you're just not using carbs. You're going to be using mostly fat as your primary fuel source. So that can be kind of confusing now. But I also do want to say there is some benefits to being in a ketogenic state, or ketosis, or ketogenesis. And that might include things such as more managed hunger. I know for me, that's why I follow a modified keto diet, is because of it. It helps me keep my appetite more under control. And it's also helped me decrease the desire for sugar. So that can absolutely happen when you are in a ketogenic state. Those things really is going to be the thing that's going to help you lose the body fat. And it's just going to come down to calories. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to fast. So I just really want to make that clear. That's how it works. It's not that fasting is magical and is going to help you lose weight. That's not necessarily the case. It's just one of those things. It's kind of like how the keto diet works. It's not that keto is like magic or anything. But again, when you're in that ketogenic state and you have less hunger, or hunger hormones get more regulated, and you have less cravings for highly palatable foods, that's how you lose weight on a keto diet. It's not anything that it's magical. And generally on a low carb diet is going to be a lower calorie diet. So I just want to make that super duper clear, because I kind of feel that women, a lot of times they're focusing on these shiny objects such as intermittent fasting, and it's just not the important things. The important thing is making sure that you have the correct calorie input and output. You know what's coming in, you know what's going out, right? And you have that correct equation to where you are in line with reaching your goals. Okay. So it's really going to come down to that. So I know it can be really tempting to kind of like, how many carbs should I eat? I need to do some carb cycling, and I need to do intermittent fasting. These things can create a lot of noise. And I feel like the reason that a lot of women end up giving up, or they get frustrated on their weight loss journey, is because they're simply focusing on the things that are just small dial movers and not focusing on the big dial movers. So the big dial movers are really the boring things, like making sure that you're walking enough and making sure that you have a correct calorie input output. Those are the things that are really going to move the needle forward, versus all these little tiny things that are very minor and not really relevant. Again, these are tools that can be helpful, but I also feel like this really only should be used whenever you're already like doing things like, looking at your steps and tracking your calories, that type of thing, right? You already have the basic behaviors done. You can do things like adhere in some way, even when life is busy and stressful. I just feel that a lot of women just get really frustrated because there's just so much noise out there, and, people are just looking for that magic bullet. And honestly, it's really going to come down to like the basics. All right. So that's kind of my like little disclaimer here. But again, intermittent fasting can have a place. It is something that I do even in a bulk. So it is possible to do this and still get adequate calories. And I think that's really the main thing I want to hammer home today, is that it's all going to come down to meeting your calorie goal, whatever that is for you to reach the goal that you want to reach, and making sure that you're not under eating, because I see this so much. And this is something that I ran into a big problem with. Under eating is just not necessarily a good thing. It could be actually detrimental to muscle growth. I just think that it's so important to make sure that you are eating adequate calories. So let's kind of explore some ways that you can incorporate intermittent fasting if you choose to do so. So first of all, let's kind of talk about the timed windows. So I always have people start off with like a 12-12 type approach. So you have 12 hours between your last meal of the day and your first meal of the day. So for example, if you eat around 7 p.m., you're going to break your fast the next day at 7 a.m. Okay, so that's a 12-12 fast. I do think that everyone, for the most part, of course, always talk to your doctor, But for the most part, 12 hours is what I generally recommend people do. I think this is a good way to eliminate nighttime snacking, which can kind of be a slippery slope for a lot of people. And it can also help you get that nice break. Your gut's going to thank you. It's just so helpful on the gut to have those times where you're not eating any food. Okay. So that's what I highly recommend that most people do. And again, check with your doctor. The next step is going to a 14-hour fast. So that's going to look like if you eat at 7, then you push your meal back until 9 a.m. So that's going to be a 14-hour fast. And then finally, you have a 16-hour fast. So that would be you eat at 7, then you would wait until 11 a.m. to eat. Now, I also want to point out that you can do this in reverse. So this is how I actually do it. I do get up super early most days of the week. I'm generally up by 4:15 a.m. So on those days, I generally will eat a little bit earlier. So because I'm an early person, I like to intermittent fast in the evening. So generally my last meal is between 3 and 5 p.m. at least during the week. Generally on the weekends, I don't do this because I'm going out to eat with my husband and doing things like that. And Sunday night, we like to have family dinner. But during the week, I do like to shut down my window fairly early. And so I usually fast anywhere from like 3 to 5. And then I almost always have breakfast around 7 a.m., maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, but it's generally around that time. So you can absolutely do it in the evening like that. There is a lot of benefits, kind of like circadian rhythm type eating, where you're eating when the sun's coming up and then you're finishing your window before the sun goes down. So it's kind of like that type of eating. I really personally like it because I just don't like eating really before bed because it just causes me indigestion and sometimes it can disrupt my sleep. So that's why I like to do it. And of course, I'm just naturally kind of hungrier earlier in the day. So to me, it just kind of makes sense to have my meals earlier. So that's how you can incorporate that. And of course, you can do like an 18-hour fast. Around the 18-hour mark, you're going to hit autophagy, which is the renewal of cells. So if you're going for like decreased inflammation, that type of thing, then you'll want to do an extended fast. But again, talk to your doctor. And the other thing to consider here is, y'all, we have to like honor our hunger. Okay, so my thing is that if you are planning on fasting, but you wake up and you're hungry, please eat. Okay, always honor your hunger. I think it's a really good idea to, no matter what the situation is. Like the other night at 8 o'clock, I was hungry. So I was like, okay, I don't want to eat a big meal, but I'm going to eat something. So I just had some cottage cheese. So I just think it's really, really important to listen to your body and honor that hunger if hunger does appear, even if you did plan on fasting. Okay. The other thing I want to point out here, I see a mistake of women just like jumping to these like 18, 24-hour fasts. And I just don't think that's a good idea because that can actually lead to overindulging later. Because if you're fighting hunger and you're not used to doing this, your body's not used to doing this, and you end up breaking your fast and you kind of like go off the rails and eat everything in sight, that's kind of counterintuitive, right? Like there's really no point in doing fasting if it's going to end like that. So what I want to say here is always start with that 12-hour fast if you're new to that, and then you can start pushing it. That's exactly what I did. I think that's so important because restricting too much will lead to overindulging later. And we have to remember that is pretty much the case for all of us. So we really need to be careful about restricting too much. So we always want to honor our hunger and make sure that we are working up to these longer fasts. Okay. Also, have a plan. Okay. Meaning, I want you all to think about how are you going to break your fast? We don't want to break a fast with a highly palatable meal full of carbohydrates and fat. We do not want that combination of carbs and fat. Okay, so I'm talking about things like that are easy to overeat, like fast food meals. Okay, the last thing we want to do is break our fast with something like a fast food meal because that type of food is really easy to overeat. So we just want to be really, really careful and kind of break our fast with more bland foods. Okay, so like a savory type meal. So eggs and bacon, something like that, right? A salad with chicken and some healthy fats on there, like maybe some cheese or some nuts or some avocado, and some dressing, some kind of like oil-based dressing, something like that. So yeah, something that tastes good for sure, but something that's not going to be like super easy to overeat. So meaning lots of protein. Okay. We want to break our fast with something that is like a lower carb meal with lots of protein. All right. Just because we want to make sure that we are not overeating. That's so important. So if you have a fast planned, you want to have some kind of plan for what exactly you're going to eat. And even better if you have that meal ready. Okay, so maybe that's something that you prep ahead of time. I think that's a really good idea. And just having that plan is just going to make all the difference. Now, I do not recommend most people do extended fast, especially if you're doing something like a calorie deficit. I just think that's very detrimental because here's the thing, if you're already consuming very low calories, like I never understood this. And then I was like really thinking about it. I'm like, like I don't think it's a good idea to do these extended fasts whenever you are doing a calorie deficit because you're already restricting as it is. So it's just not really a good idea to restrict more. Again, doing like a modest 10-20% calorie deficit is totally fine. The reason is we don't want to lose that lean muscle mass. So I think it's really, really important to make sure that we are, even though we want to lose fat, that we don't have these like really low calorie days. I think it's really important to really just try to stick to around 100 calories within your calorie goal from that 10 to 20% calorie deficit. All right. Now, of course, like 1,000 calorie day isn't going to be detrimental, but I'm talking about doing this all the time, right? Like there's going to be days where you're probably just not that hungry or maybe you don't feel good, right? But I do think it's really, really important that we're not going too low. And I think that's where people run into problems with intermittent fasting. People lose weight too quickly because they're restricting their calories like a lot. And that can lead to losing lean muscle mass. So, and we definitely don't want that because you're going to look better with muscle. And not only that, it's metabolically active when you have muscle. So meaning you're going to be able to burn more calories. So, and that is at rest. That is while you're exercising and doing your activities of daily living. So very, very important to have some kind of goal with your calories. So on that subject, I want to let you all know that here in just a couple weeks, I'm going to be doing a 3-part series about macros inside my closed Facebook group, The Lean Lifestyle. So same name as this podcast. So it's totally free. Later on, after I do the 3-video series, I'm going to be offering my macro challenge, and specifically for women. So it's the Women's 28-Day Macro Counting Challenge that you can purchase as a one-time purchase and have access to it for life. And this is also going to include a one-on-one coaching session with me. So I'm really, really excited about that. That's just going to be here in a couple weeks. So if you want to stay in the loop, if you are interested in learning how to track your own macros so you can reach your body composition goal faster and much easier, come on over to my closed Facebook group, The Lean Lifestyle. I'm going to link the link to join us in the show notes. Love to have you. It's a free group. I do a lot of content around what we talk about on the podcast. So I would love for you to join, and you can attend the free 3-day event where I'll be going live in my Facebook group, and I'll be sharing with you all the tips and tricks you need to know about starting counting macros. Macros really is where it's at. Like, if you've been trying to just diet without tracking what you're actually consuming, it can be so eye-opening. And I promise you all, it does not have to feel like a depriving diet. Like the girls inside Lean Physique, I'm so proud of them. They're like, wow, I totally have shifted the way I think about this stuff. Macros just have a bad reputation. People think that it automatically means dieting, and it actually does not. I'm doing a bulk and I'm counting my macros. And the reason why I've been getting good results and I've been gaining very minimal body fat while I'm gaining weight is because I've been tracking my macros. I've been making sure I'm not overeating too much. I'm just in a very slight surplus. It's also helping me make sure that I'm getting adequate protein. And that's really been a big thing with this journey and it really doesn't matter where you are, right? Whether you want to lose weight or build more muscle, protein really is king. And getting enough of it is really going to help you be successful. And not just with how you look, but the reason why protein is so important is because it is actually the most satiating macronutrient out there. So meaning it's going to help you feel full and satisfied. It's going to help you keep those cravings under control. So that's what I want to say about macros. I feel like it has such a bad rap, but honestly, like it can be such a powerful tool, and it really is how you look at these things. And that's what we do inside of my membership for Women Lean Physique. We really talk about things like self-judgment, how to not let the scale dictate your freaking day. Like these things are so important because like a lot of the things I teach, like the keto diet and intermittent fasting and macro count, like people like just have like this skewed view on it and they think is depriving. But honestly, these things are tools and skills. And some of these tools do have drawbacks. And that's exactly why I'm coming on here today and chatting with you all about intermittent fasting, because there's just so much noise out there. And I do just want to have like an honest conversation with you about these things. So that way you can decide for yourself if it's for you. Okay. That's literally all this is. This is just information. And I just want to kind of clear the air because a lot of the things I teach people do think that is depriving. And I do get a lot of nasty comments over it. But it's like, okay, it really is how you look at these things. And these things are just used as tools and they really are just skills. And it's all about how you think about it, right? So that's some of the deeper work that we do inside Lean Physique. We talk about things like self-judgment, like not letting the scale like dictate your day. Because that's really a big thing, because if we let something like the scale, if we make it mean something about us, if we make it mean that we're broken or we just can't lose weight or whatever the case may be, if we have that belief, that is absolutely going to dictate how you act. Everything that you think, your thoughts, your beliefs is going to impact your mood. It's going to impact how you feel, and how you feel always creates your actions. So I think it's really, really important that we understand that it's all about how you look at these things. You're going to be so much more successful when you can let go of the self-judgment, when you can realize like these things are tools and they're not necessarily used to be like depriving. Again, you can use macro counting to do things like build more muscle or even just maintain your physique. And I think that's really, really important. And not only that, with macro counting, you're going to be able to do things like keep your favorite foods into your nutrition. And I think that's really, really important, because anything that is not sustainable is not going to work for you long term. So meaning if you're not doing things in a sustainable manner, then you're probably going to gain back all the weight. I think it's really, really important to do things like include your favorite meals. Be realistic about, like, is this something I can actually live forever without? And if the answer is no, then we need to find ways to incorporate that in. I think that's really, really important. I still do things like drink wine. I still do things like go out and have a hamburger at a bistro with fries. And I don't feel guilty about that at all, because 90% of the time I'm on it. 10% of the time of me eating cheeseburgers and french fries, like, is not going to kill my physique. And I actually feel like that's why I've been able to be so successful with my own body composition, is because I have this moderation. Like, I don't eat perfect. Like, contrary to what you may think, I do not eat perfect. And the reason why I've been successful is because I don't put that kind of pressure on myself. So that's what I want to kind of end with today. So let me know if you have any questions. But the bottom line here is intermittent fasting is not magic. Yes, there is some great benefits to it, but it's really helping you with fat loss in the context of it's probably helping you create a calorie deficit, meaning you're going to be eating less, right? So it does not really matter if you implement intermittent fasting again, but I personally like to do it just because really the gut benefits, I do feel better when I'm not eating all the time. I know for me, like, I have less bloat. That's really been the main thing. When I was eating like a whole bunch of mini meals, it was kind of like, my body's like constantly breaking down food. So, and I constantly had food in my belly. So it just kind of made me feel like bloated, if that makes sense. So I think from a digestion standpoint, it can be super helpful. But again, it can be a slippery slope for women because it can make you undereat. And again, undereating is not necessarily good. It's not going to necessarily be like beneficial to you in the long term because you may lose lean muscle mass and it can slow metabolic rate down. So I do not recommend extended fasts. Again, I don't really recommend anything over 18 hours. And if you are going to do something like that, please talk to your doctor and make sure you're not doing it all the time. But I don't really think that doing anything over 16, 18 hours is really necessary. I think that just makes it more miserable. And again, we just don't want to, we want to make this process enjoyable. We want to make it a lifestyle. And if it's not enjoyable, we won't make it a lifestyle. So keep it to that 14 to 18 hours. You can start off with 12-12. I think everyone can benefit from that. And if you want to try it, start with 12 and then work up to 14 and then 16 and so on. So I just do not recommend extended fasts. Again, like we were talking about, especially if you're eating in a calorie deficit, that is not good. That's going to put you at a very low caloric intake for the week. So, maybe if you're in a bulk, maybe do, an extended fast if you wanted to for autophagy reasons, but I just don't think is necessary. And I think the cons are going to outweigh the pros. So, intermittent fasting is great, but make sure that you have a plan for it, that you have a plan for your meal. So that way you do not overeat when you do break that fast. So let me know if you have any questions. You can email me at cfitnessonlinetraining@gmail.com. I will put the link to join my free closed Facebook group. So that way, if you want to stay in the loop about the upcoming 28-day women's macro counting challenge, you can join our group for free. You can attend our 3-day video series as well for free. And yeah, you can hang out with me inside my closed Facebook group. And I will also link the link to Lean Physique, my membership for women over 40, in the show notes as well. All right. Thanks so much for being here and cheering you on, and bye for now.